Hi and welcome to the Zen Supermom Podcast. This episode is for you if you are new to me. Maybe this is the first episode ever of the Zen Supermom Podcast that you're watching and you found it and it caught your attention because you are desperately looking for a quick way to make your kids listen. Make them finally respond to you, not after the 100th time that you've asked and you had to start yelling because nobody seemed to be listening, caring, or paying attention, respecting you before. And you want to change this pattern because it's turned into a habit. Your kids are usually not listening, they are not following the rules. You are feeling totally disrespected, not heard. You might have been trying some parenting techniques which look great on paper when you read it in some book or watch it in some parenting course. You're like, absolutely, yes, this makes so much sense. But then you try to live it with your family and your kids are not responding the way they do. You're not remembering any of these scripts and you're totally freaking out and you're thinking, oh my goodness, give me the one parenting script or parenting strategy that will finally help me because my time is running out. I'm going crazy. Nobody's listening. I'm burning out. I'm turning into a monster, yelling monster, and I hate that about myself. So please help fast. So if that's you, I'm going to invite you into this podcast episode because that's exactly what we need to unpack. What is it that you're missing? What is the one thing that probably nobody told you about? And it has nothing to do, there's nothing wrong with you. It's not that you're not smart enough. There's nothing wrong with you, okay? But you need to figure out what is it that you're missing? Why is it not working? Okay. Now, if you're a returning fan, if you've been listening to my podcast for a while or even for years, or even if we've already worked together, if you've been part of like our Zen Supermom clients who worked with me and my team in the past, you might not learn anything new in this episode because, spoiler alert, there are no new secrets to be revealed. It will be exactly about these things that I keep talking about in every single Zen Supermom podcast episode, okay? So just if you're a returning fan, if you already know why you cannot stop yelling, why your kids are not listening, then also let me save your time. You can skip this episode. This one is for the new ladies who haven't met me yet. So let's get started. Welcome to the Zen Supermom Podcast. Hi, I'm Elena and I'm a mommy tantrum specialist because I used to be specialist at yelling at my daughter daily. Now, 6 years fast forward, me and my team help busy, loving moms stop yelling, start setting healthy boundaries with natural consequences while staying calm so that the kids listen more. And one day when you look back at their childhood pictures, you will be able to feel at peace and happy with what a wonderful job you did. So that's what we do in this Zen Supermom podcast, helping you find out why none of these parenting techniques, not even anger therapy and counseling is ever going to help you get there. You need to understand the root. Where is all of your uncontrollable anger coming from? That's what this podcast is about. So welcome to the Zen Supermom Podcast. Hi, my name is Elena and I'm a mommy tantrum specialist because I used to be a specialist at having mommy tantrums and yelling at my daughter several times a day as early as when she was 1 year old. Now, what I also have is a professional background. So I'm a certified professional coach for more than a decade, first in the corporate world and then starting my own business. And what's even more important and valid for what we are going to talk about today, I'm also a certified trauma specialist and my specific area of expertise is childhood trauma and mental fitness. I'm a professional brainwasher, if you would want to call it that way. So this is what gives me the confidence to be speaking on the topics, not just from my experience of being a mom who figured something out, But as a professional who worked with thousands of women over the last years and who helped them with exact same problems, stop being the mamzilla who keeps yelling uncontrollably and figure it out. So welcome if this is the first podcast episode you ever found somewhere online. You are here because you want to stop yelling and you want to do it fast. Maybe yelling at your kids is the only way that works right now, but you want to change that because you understand it's not sustainable in the long run. If your kids are growing up, you might even start seeing them. They are yelling back at you. They are using exact same expressions and gesticulation and maybe even like violent hands towards you or their siblings. And it's like looking into the mirror and watching the worst parts of you reflected back, and it's like, I did that, is it possible? I'm like, So you've been probably looking online a lot. You've been probably scrolling the Instagrams and Facebooks and whatnot to find a quick way, like kind of a magic that would help you stop yelling at your kids, right? And this is who I work with. So I'm doing a mommy tantrum training weekly for the moment for women who want to figure this out. Why is it that I cannot stop yelling? Why is it that my kids are not listening, and what to do instead? So this was actually the inspiration for this podcast episode, because I just did another of these trainings yesterday. And the interesting feedback was, finally, probably I can imagine there are lots of people feeling this way every time I do the training. But there was somebody who spoke up yesterday. She wrote it in the chat and she said, well, this training was 1000% sales pitch from beginning till the end. I didn't learn anything new and this was total waste of my time. And so I was wondering, like, this made me think, this made me curious. And unfortunately, I didn't have the time because then the mom disconnected from the training. But I was thinking about it and I was like, I wish I could ask her some questions. And I started wondering, what is it that made her feel that way? That she would think she already knew it all and that she didn't get what she needed. So I thought, well, let's unpack it here, because this is, and let me know that I always love feedback. So then you can reply to any of the emails that I'm sending if you're already in our Zen Supermom email list, or just use any of the contact details here in the that are usually shared with this podcast. Because usually who I tend to attract is moms who are super loving. Like, your kids are your everything. You want to give them the best. You want to give them a better childhood maybe than even you had. You know that yelling is not okay, even though it might be the only way that it works right now. But deep down inside, like, you want to have a calm, happy, peaceful home. You want to raise kids who are feeling self-confident, who are feeling safe to come and talk to you when they have a problem. You don't want to have this disconnected relationship with power fights and them saying like hateful words to you whenever they get angry and them just like pushing you away, right? You want the opposite. But because your kids are growing up and you don't have much time, you want to do it fast. So you're looking for practical ways. Because you're thinking, well, if other people are figuring it out, that there's just something I'm missing. So give me the parenting script, give me the technique, something I can say or do to make it change like this. Okay? The problem is, and you tell me, I really want to get your feedback on this. How long have you been trying to do it? How long have you been already looking? How much time have you already spent online, researching, reading, learning, printing out things and testing it out with your kids? Some of them might have worked, but not to the extent you want. That's why you keep looking. That's why you would even spend your precious time listening to a podcast episode like this, right? So this is the first of the paradox, right? This is the irony. You're looking for a quick way because you don't have time. But how much time have you already wasted? Getting things that are confusing, overwhelming, that only make you feel bad about yourself because it's like, what the heck is wrong with me? It makes perfect sense on paper, but I can't make it happen with my kids. What the heck is going on here? It must be me. Like, I'm the terrible one. I'm not fit to be a mom. Everybody seems to be doing just okay, if not very well. But why am I the only one? Right? So this is the first insight. And I'm thinking like, this is probably what these women, either they were not at the beginning of the training where I explained this, but this is the first point I want you to get, is that there is no one single parenting script that would work for every situation, for every child, at any moment, at any developmental stage. And you know it very well if you have more than one kid. They are might be totally different personalities. They react differently to different triggers and situations and responding differently to you, right? So how come you are one parent, you're the same family, and your kids might be different, one from the other, or even if you have just one kid, what worked half a year ago or even 2 months ago, it's not working now. So what makes you think that there would be one single parenting approach that would work for any situation? It's the same thing, you see? So this is the first point I would invite you to get. Stop looking for the one thing to fix your child. Okay? Because there is no one thing. There is no one quick fix. And those who are promising you a quick fix, they are the ones who are making you actually waste your time. And then you end up spending even more time than you would have initially wanted. Okay? That's the first point. The second point is what I explain also in my training is, it is not about your kid. And this is the hard one to get, right? So often moms come to me and they say, well, if only my kids would stop triggering me, if they would start listening more, then I can yell less. However, you're a mom, you tell me, how did you observe your kids so far? Do they learn more by like when you're teaching and preaching and when you're being like the priest with like the teacher trying to force them to get something? Do they learn more from these situations? Or do they actually learn just like a sponge absorbing by watching you, how you behave, what your energy is, what you say, and they are copying like little monkeys, whatever you do, and they hear especially what they are not supposed to hear. They learn especially what they are not supposed to learn, right? All of your bad, quote unquote, habits. Yes, isn't that true? So, if we agree on this, that yes, the kids learn much more naturally by observing, and by the way, it's anchored even in psychology. There's enough proof to prove that it's true. Yeah. So then, this is the key that you're looking for. This is the explanation of why it's not about your kids. If you want to raise kids who are respectful, who can show you how much they love you no matter what, who can manage their emotions no matter if they're hungry, tired, if they don't get what they want immediately when they want it, who do you need to be, mom? How is it that you need to show up? No matter if you are stressed or running late, if you had a sleepless night, how do you need to show up so that they learn how to control their emotions and be nice and respectful and kind at all times? That's who you need to be. Yes. That's why, and I'm explaining it in the Mommy Tantrum training, it starts with you. It's not about the kids. It starts with you being able to control your emotions and your stress and the time pressure in a way that doesn't destroy the relationship with your kids and that doesn't destroy their self-confidence by blaming them for your anger. That anger is yours. They are triggering by doing something that's not okay. But we can speak to the behavior that is not okay without punishing the child for it. And you can think back in your childhood. How would you prefer that your parents would motivate you to learn, to be a nice human being, to get better grades, and to be helping more at home? How do you prefer that your parents would have handled these situations? By punishing you, by criticizing, by yelling at you, by making you feel not good enough, by sending you out in your room, like go and sort it out by yourself, come back when you're a nice girl and you can say yes, and put others first in front of you? Or would you rather have a parent who can say, well, you really messed up this time, right? but kind of in the energy of trying to help you out so that the next time you can do better. Or that finding out like, what happened? I know you're a nice, kind girl. You wouldn't hurt your brother because you're mean. Like, you must be feeling a lot of pain right now that you want to take it out on somebody else this way, right? Addressing the need that's underneath the unwanted behavior. That's what needs to happen, but you can do it only after you clean up your anger and your emotions. You're making it about yourself right now. You're taking it personally. Like, you're so mean. You're making me be late. And how dare you? After everything that I've done for you, I sacrificed my life, my body, my sleep, my work, my everything, my relationships with my friends and everything. And you're such an ungrateful, like, it's not their fault. They didn't choose to be your kid. Like, you made that choice. Why are you throwing all of your resentment and people-pleasing drama on your kids? Like, it has nothing to do with that one situation. Usually when you get triggered, you throw at them like years of your pain and frustration and stress, because it's like an outlet, right? And they are the easiest target because they are your kids. If it was an adult, they could have fight back. They could have like, what the heck? Like, don't you dare shoving that all at me. It's not my fault. They're your kids. They can't. Sometimes when they're older, then they start fighting back, right? But not only until it's already very late and until that dynamic has been already toxically, emotionally abusive all around, right? But let's go back to you. You see, this is why it starts with you. You can set boundaries with your kids. It doesn't mean that you have to be letting them do whatever, whenever, for however long they want to be doing. It doesn't mean you need to let them kill their siblings, draw all over the wall, spend 3 hours in the morning, be in the shower or in the bathroom, not wanting to brush their teeth or whatever. It doesn't mean that you need to let them be the boss and keep asking 1,000 times nicely. No. They do need boundaries. They do need limits. They do need to understand what is their freedom and independence, and that it can go only so far so that it doesn't kill the freedom and independence and well-being of somebody else. That you too have the right for your independence and respect and your personal space and some time for you too, right? That's where personal boundaries are. And the more members in the family you have, the more gentle balance and dance it is to teach them, well, this is your space. That's the playground, emotionally, time-wise, that you can spend your time with full independence, with full control. But this is where it touches my boundary, and that's when it's not okay. And this is where the boundary and the rule is. Okay, you can do that with respect, firmly, with consistency, without creating any drama over it and without blaming your kids for always asking more or for pushing the boundary or for crossing it and just like, let me see what mommy does if I like don't respect her space, right? They are supposed to be testing. They are supposed to be challenging. This is how they learn. It's part of their psychological development. They need to understand there is consequence to each behavior, and they cannot push you. You cannot become their victim just because they want something and they want it now. Okay? You can set those limits without blaming them for that. Okay? It is normal part of their development to try. But what is key is your reaction to it. That reaction needs to be clean. That reaction cannot be full of anger and triggers and hatred and resentment and frustration and stress and controlling perfectionist, super high expectation not appropriate to their age. This is what I help moms and dads with. Okay? And this is why, going back to the topic of this podcast episode, there is no one single parenting script. There is nothing to practice. Like those people on the training yesterday, they got mad because from the name of the session of the live thing, they saw the name training, and my guess is that they thought, well, we are going to train and practice something, like saying something, doing something that will magically, like abracadabra, ting, and the kids are unicorns. They will never ever again challenge me in public. They will never ever again have a tantrum. They will always listen the first time I ask, and they will always show me how much they love me because they understand how much I sacrificed for them. So let's practice this magical parenting script so that it happens today. Ta-da! And I'm like, sorry. Not only you're not getting to get it in this training, not even in this podcast, you're never ever going to get that. It is not about your kids. That work is yours. And that work, it's not possible to do it in one training. It's not possible to do it in 1 hour. Because what is it that it takes for you to clean up your reactions and for you to be the calm mom who can address the behavior without killing the confidence and the unconditional love relationship with your kid? What is it that it takes? Well, that's what I'm talking about in every single podcast episode, or at least most of them. It takes 2 things. You need to realize and heal the place where your anger is coming from. And by the way, now going back to the training, this is exactly what I explained there in more detail. That anger, spoiler alert, is going back to your childhood. And not in a way that most of the people think. You're not yelling because your mom or dad yelled. It goes much deeper than that. The fact that they yelled at you, there is a part of you that got emotionally frozen back then. When they made you feel you were not good enough, you were not worthy of being loved because you did or did not do something. You were not fulfilling the requirements that they had for you, how you should behave. That left an imprint on you. That left the pain of not feeling heard, understood, not being worthy of love, that even the people who are supposed to love you the most, they are supposed to take care of you. Like they don't. They don't love you, not always, because you don't deserve it. So you didn't stop loving them, you stopped loving yourself. That's why, tell me if that's true. Are you feeling good enough? Are you feeling confident? Do you have a healthy self-esteem? Can you look in the mirror and honestly say to yourself, like, hey, I love myself. Like, I'm not perfect. That's not about being narcissistic, egoistic. Like, yeah, I'm not perfect, but I'm okay. It's okay. I love being me. Everything included, all parts of me. There is no demons. There is no dark sides of me. It's okay. I'm okay with who I am. Can you say that? Because if not, I can tell you, it's not because of your toxic, abusive relationship with some ex. It's not because of your childhood bullying at school, like when you were a teenager and somebody told you were fat or dumb. It does go all the way back into your childhood and the relationship with your parents, with your siblings. Okay? That's where you need to start healing your anger, because the moment your kids trigger you, you become that little girl in the past, and that's how you react. How little girls know how to defend themselves. The only thing, maybe you couldn't have done it when you were a kid. You couldn't yell back at your parents, but heck yes, you can yell at your kids now because the power game changed. Okay? I explained that in more detail. You have many episodes that are talking about it. This is what, let me fast track. It's called generational developmental trauma. Even if you had a happy childhood like me, there was no sexual abuse, no like dramatic, terrible things happening in your childhood. You had a normal, classic childhood. It's just that your parents yelled at you. Yeah, congratulations. It's okay, no big drama, but it is a type of trauma, childhood trauma that needs to be healed. And unless you do that, you will keep jumping up, yelling at your kids, maybe even your husband, your spouse, other people in your life, okay? This is another reason why it makes no sense to keep wasting time looking for quick fix on how to stop yelling at your kids. You get it? You get it? Because unless you stop yelling, which kills the relationship with your kids, so then of course they're not going to listen to you because they are like, their self-confidence is down the drain. They are feeling not good enough. So this goes, the pain, the cost, the consequence of you yelling goes actually much deeper. Not only it doesn't work in getting their positive cooperation and motivation and some respect, it doesn't work. It kills it. Actually, it does the exact opposite. But in the long term, you're raising kids who are more susceptible to being bullied or becoming a bully. Yeah. So that's why you need another reason why you should stop wasting time scrolling through the social media, looking for a quick fix parenting to make your kids listen. This is why. The second piece that you need, because I get it, I often get a lot of women there saying, okay, but I'm not yelling. I'm not yelling. My kids are not listening. I keep asking 100 times nicely first. It's not that the first thing I do is yell. I'm a really nice mom. Sometimes people even tell me I'm too soft. I'm too nice. So it's not that I'm a terrible monster because I'm yelling always. I'm not. So how does that work now, you smart lady? You tell me. Well, the thing is still the same. You need to clean up your childhood because you became a people pleaser. You were pushed by your parents. Maybe you had to tiptoe around them, walk on eggshells because you never knew when they would explode. So you learned to anticipate people's needs. You learned how to avoid conflict. You learned that you cannot share your emotions with anybody because maybe you were the emotional blanket for your parents, for your mom who was so lost in all her relationships. You became her parent. She was confiding in you. She was sharing with you because it was so much for her to carry. So you were feeling like, oh, I cannot share any. I cannot be the bad girl. I cannot make my mom more upset because like she would break down. Like she already has so much on her. I have to try and do my best to be there for her emotions. I have to push down my emotions because it would be too much for her. She's already too busy with her emotions. Yeah. So that's how you learned, or maybe they pushed it like they pushed it in me, that it's selfish to want something for myself. It's selfish to put myself first. I have to take care of everybody else. That's the nice quality for a girl to have. Yeah. Even yesterday, I had a couple session. I love you so much, guys, if you're listening. The woman was saying, well, she was blaming her partner for not putting the family first. That he's selfish for thinking about like taking time for himself. And I was like, I love you both guys, but this is exactly like it's your people pleaser, childhood trauma speaking. You were punished for putting yourself first. And ever since then, you're feeling it's selfish to take time for you. But it's like this cliche announcement on any plane like ride, any flight. They tell you bloody need to put the oxygen mask first. Like you heard it so often, right? In parenting. You do need to take care of yourself, mom, before you can take care of everybody else. Because if you don't, and if you're stressed out, sleepless zombie, what kind of mom can you be for your kids? What kind of example are they getting from you? Like that's 20, 30 years from now. Look in the future. How is your relationship with your kids going to be? If you're going to blame them for destroying your life because you gave them everything and those ungrateful little bastards, they are not like even appreciating it. You don't want to become a bitter old woman who's just like, it's because of you guys. No, it's your responsibility to take care of yourself first. And I'm not saying like leave your family home alone, hungry and not taken care of and you go on vacation for 1 month to recover. No. But this people pleaser childhood trauma needs to get healed so that you can allow yourself at least a few minutes a day, finding pockets, finding opportunities on how to take care of yourself. This will also help you then stop asking nicely 100 times. What makes you think that if you ask 99 times, it didn't work? Like, and then you think the 100th time it's going to be different, that they will finally listen? Like then it's not the child who's the slow learner. Why didn't you learn from the 99 times already? Asking once, it's enough. Once. And explaining upfront what are those natural consequences. Dear child, you have a choice. We can do it this way, you can do it this way. And there are the natural consequences that will come out of the situation, not because I'm the mom and I'm the punishing you. Because if you don't clean up your room, you cannot play with your favorite toy. Like there is no natural, you're doing a punishment. Or if you do this, you get a sticker or you get a toy. What is the natural consequence? You're creating like a positive reward, has nothing to do with it. There's no positive motivation. You're bribing your child. Natural consequence that comes directly out of the situation. Yes? and letting your child make their choice. And you will be okay with what the choice is. Okay? And I have a whole episode on it, and I can do a whole training on natural consequences, because this is something that comes up very often. Yeah. Enough asking 100 times nicely. It's nonsense. This is your people pleaser trying to avoid conflicts, trying to avoid yelling, but you don't know how to do it nicely. Okay? This is where the second part comes, which again is not a quick fix. It's not a one-time like magic formula that you can say today and your kids will magically turn into obedient unicorns. The second part is mental fitness. That's the brainwashing piece. As I said, I'm a trained, certified brainwasher, mental fitness coach. Because you need to get those habits of controlling, perfecting, avoiding, judging, of being a victim, blaming it on all the environment, nobody helping me, and it's poor me, and it's your fault, and if you would just listen, then I wouldn't have to yell, and I'm saying that with all of my compassion. I'm still working on still rewiring my brain. It's a process. This was engraved in our system, in our identity. It was engraved so deeply to become the people pleaser, to become the perfectionist. Because can you imagine? It goes back to that childhood trauma. We were made feel not good enough. So then we use these strategies to kind of like make up for it. Mine was hyperachiever. If I only achieve faster, better, do more than anybody else, if I'm more hardworking, if I just push harder with more willpower, then maybe I can allow myself to feel good enough for a moment. Celebrate for like 3 seconds before I start pushing for the new goal and even bigger and better things. Hyperachiever. People pleaser, already described. Yeah. Putting everybody else first, but it's kind of like a horse trait. You're like, I am nice to you, and then I expect you give me at least some of that love back. And if they don't, then you're resentful. Like, how dare you? I did so much for you. You didn't even ask me and I did it for you. How come you don't read my mind and do something for me? That's a people pleaser trauma. And it's like, I know it's engraved so deeply. The controller, perfectionist, it's abusing your strengths. It might be part of who you are. You really are a nice person. You're empathetic, caring, nurturing. You want that. You would do it even if like nobody was looking. But that's the part of it. Then do it. When you expect nothing back. You want to achieve, you have a drive to learn and do more things, you have ambitions, you have big goals and dreams, do it. But not because you're not feeling good enough, not because you're afraid people will judge you if you don't. That's the difference. And this is where we need to rewire your brain so that you stop being afraid of judgment. Oh, what will other people think? If I don't punish and discipline my kids, they will judge me for not being a good mom because they are not behaving. So you are like extra strong with them and disciplinary and authoritarian. I don't know which one is the right word. Especially when you're public because you're afraid people will judge you. All of this needs to get rewired so that you start focusing. You can shift your brain from going from the fear of not being good enough, fear of being rejected, fear of being judged by other people. That needs to get shifted to what is it really that matters the most for you? Because you notice that once you calm down, at the end of the day, everything is quiet. If you can find like a calm space, if you can even allow your brain to slow down a little bit, which is often the problem, you can't. But if you could, you would notice that it's easier to think about the bigger picture. It's not just about right now, right here, my kid is having a tantrum. What do I do with it? People are watching. People are judging me. Oh my goodness, this feels so uncomfortable. I'm such a terrible mom. I'm like, out of control. If you zoom out to the bigger picture, at the end of the day, 20, 30, 40 years from now, what is going to be the most important thing for you? How do you want to think back? And how do you want to feel about your kids' childhood? When you look at some photo albums when they were babies, and you look at it 30, 40, 50 years from now, how do you want to feel looking back at their pictures when they were kids, when they were babies? What is the advice that the older, wiser you would give to that incredibly loving, dedicated mom you are today, who's also like so exhausted and so sick and tired of it all? What would be your advice to her from the future you who have done it, who have gone to the other side of it, and who already has big kids and maybe even grandkids? What would be the advice to you today? Okay, bigger picture and focusing on what is the most important thing at the end of the day. Is it going to be the clean kitchen? Is it going to be whatever, in what shape you wear, what you were weighing, how much time you had for doing whatever? If your kids had a clean room, if you cooked every meal from scratch, if you did every DIY project with them when you were homeschooling, what is going to be the most important thing? Yeah. This is why you should stop wasting your time and confusing your brain and making yourself feel not good enough by following all of these parenting scripts and stop looking for the one quick fix. This is going to take a little more time. But the advantage is it's not only going to help you become a much calmer, happier mom, you're not only going to become a healthy role model for your kids on how to manage your emotions, but you will start enjoying your life much more. You will start living it, not just surviving it and praying for like, okay, let me skip the next 10 years when they are big enough and they can take care of themselves and they leave home and then I can have some time for myself again. Like, what? Really? Stop putting your own life on hold. You deserve more. And it's not selfish. And it doesn't mean that it's either or, that you either focus on your kids and forget about yourself and become resentful, bitter, exhausted, burned out, wreck, not even resembling the beautiful, smart woman you were before you had kids. It's not about either or. You will never go back to being the old you. That is gone. But the good news about it is you are much more experienced, you are wiser, and you can infuse and benefit from all of that by being able to give it to your kids as a legacy, as a positive heritage. So that instead of giving them your trauma and those trauma voices of judging, controlling, perfecting, people-pleasing, victim, let's stop that trauma chain so that instead of that being your heritage, it's like, welcome to the family. That's the trauma we all have. We all feel not good enough, not seen, not heard, not worthy of being loved the way we are. So let's stop. Like, let's finish with that. What if you could turn that around and start giving them some positive legacy? What if you could be the first one in the family who finally feels good enough, who can learn how to manage your emotions, how to take control and stop being the victim of your heavy life, so that then you can teach the same to your kids. So that no matter what life throws at them, no matter what bully or toxic person enters their life, they know how to stay strong and centered, how not to let them break them. Yes, that's what I'm here to do. And that's why there is no way, and I'm sorry, but if I figure it out, I'm going to let you know, but there's no way how you can do that in 1 hour by watching some training, not even a podcast episode. This is a journey. It takes steps. It takes healing your childhood, and it takes rewiring your brain. That cannot be done in 1 hour. That does take some professional support. Okay? But I hope that at least doing these podcasts, doing these free trainings, this is the awareness I'm hoping you can get so that you save your time, save your energy, save your money, save your brain space by not doing things, like stop doing the things that do not work. So that was my intention, to help you like shed some light on the typical myths why like all these moms are still looking for quick fixes. Now I hope you will not be one of them. Now I hope you understand that even though like, yeah, bad news, there is no 5-second solution. But the good news is once you get on this path, and you can listen to some of the podcast episodes that I have with women who did it. So don't take it just from me. Look up those episodes with women who did it. You will feel it. You will hear it from them. You will see it, what becomes possible. This goes so much bigger than just you being a calm, quiet mom. Not quiet, but not yelling. Yeah. This goes much bigger. This is about your entire life. This is about who you want your kids to be when they grow up. Yeah. So I appreciate you for having the courage to even get all the way till here. That tells me really that you care a lot about your children. So that's why I know I can tell that they are lucky to have you. Even though you're not perfect, none of us is. That's one of my, I keep repeating it. Perfectly imperfect, that's good enough. Yeah. But let's get you healed, so that you stop giving that generational curse to your children, and instead you can flip it around and you can create something positive. Yeah. So I hope this was helpful. I really do hope to hear from you. I love getting all the feedback, even like the criticism and the judgment, because you see, this is what helps me create this episode for you. If it was not for that judgmental mom who was getting so upset because I got no value, this was just a sales pitch, and she missed all these points that I just broke down for you, maybe there were some other moms thinking the same way. So my hope was, and my intention for this episode was, that I can spend a little more time unpacking it for you. So I hope by now you understand there is no quick fix, but there's something much better than that. There's hope, and there's your real life, your real you, the you that you've always been, even before any childhood pain has been inflicted on you. You are still there. And there are ways how to pull that back to life. It doesn't take 5 seconds, but also it doesn't take 5 years. It's much faster than that. Yeah. And so for that, I would refer you to some previous podcast episodes where I talk specifically about how and what and when and logistics and everything. You have it all in the podcast. So if this was your first Zen Supermom podcast episode, then again, welcome. I hope it was useful, and I look forward to hearing from you. Take care, Supermom. Why can't you stop yelling at your kids? And no, it's not the stress, lack of sleep, kids not listening, fighting, hitting, no support, time pressure, ADHD, hormones. No, moms around the world are doing it regardless. How? Join us for the upcoming Mommy Tantrum training and find out too.